let's see here. Alright, so if you would like to texture, I'm gonna make a box, turn this on. Alright, let's say I wanted to texture this box. Every item, every object, every piece of geometry is going to have like a UV layout. UV layout would be what basically the layout of how the texture goes, I guess, would be the best way of putting it. You're going to have to map the texture. Like if I did, and there's a bunch of ways to do that, I'm just going to be quick and say the best way to map anything would be planar mapping. Open a planar mapping option box. Let's say I wanted to planar map it from... Oh, let me go back to this. The reason you gotta map the UVs is because if you go up into the UV texture editor, I mean, it's a square, so it's not gonna have any like ridiculously crazy UVs, so the UVs are actually already pretty good. But let's just say I took this helix and wanted to UV that. And UVs, UV texture editor. Even then, the UVs are still pretty fucking good. Jesus. Screw my default geometry. Let me open a project. Alright, so here is... I'm going to open up a project before I laid out any UVs, so you can see what UVs look like before they're actually laid out decent. Alright, so this is a start of a person. Basically these UVs are going to be all over the place, and you'll see what I'm talking about right here. Those are all the UVs in the worst possible format ever. That's what Maya does by default, is it automatically by default make sure UV's all crazy and everywhere. But basically what you want to do with your UVs is you want to make them look like roughly the same size, so you don't get like any ridiculous stretching in your texture, because if you don't lay out your UVs properly, I'm getting ahead of myself. Open scene. This is my new... No, cancel. Let's see. What the fuck? Alright, my newest file isn't even on here. Let's see if it's in my hard drive. This is fucking retarded. My best file's not even on here. Alright, I'll open this one. Just fuck it. Open scene. Computer. Let's see. Open. Take forever. Alright. Basically, you want your UVs to look like you want them to look at least somewhat evenly spread out. Like here in the... or... like... let's say... here, like they're all roughly squares. I kind of did these UVs really fast, but you saw what they looked like before. They were just everywhere. And the way you do that is by taking, god damn it, this fucking file's slow as shit. You do that by taking, you do that by, excuse me, by planar mapping the UVs. And to do that, you would select faces, depending on what faces you want. Say you have, like, I don't know if you have like a simple object you're trying to do, because it's easier with simpler objects. But say I wanted to UV this body right here, or let's just do the arm. Let's say I wanted to UV just the arm. I take the faces that I want, and I'd select them all. Oh, I actually got them all first try. And then say I want to UV that from the top. So I'd go into Edit UVs, or I'd go to Create UVs, Planar Mapping, and since from the top it'd be from the Y, then hit Apply. And you see it gives me like this box. Basically this box is like the direction it's taking the UV, like the UV shot from. Here, I'll show you right here, UV texture. You see it's from like the top, even though it's like really off and weird looking. What I'm going to go in here and just hit UV, click on a UV. Oh shit, didn't mean to do that. I should have got rid of all the other UVs first. Go to shell, hit W, move this arm out of the way, get rid of all these other default UVs. Alright, so take this arm, shrink it down. And then what I'm going to do from there is I'm going to make a seam so I can actually unfold those UVs and make them one-sided. Because if you go in the editor and you hit this right here, it toggles on and off your, I don't know exactly what it'd be called, but basically blue is the good side, red is like the opposite side. Blue would be the faces, would be the side of the faces facing out, and red would be the back side of the faces, if that makes any sense. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to put a seam somewhere through here and unfold the UVs so they're all on the same side. And I would do that by going through here, hitting edge, say I want to make a seam through there. I could go back into my UV texture editor and I could hit, oh, I'd only want to select all the edges. On the arm that I'm trying to UV. So basically get rid of all those edges. And then go back into the UV texture editor. And I would, this button is, this button cuts the seams, it cuts the edges, but it doesn't cut the edge on the actual geometry. It only cuts the edge on the UV, because the UVs are like separate from the actual geometry. I don't know, you'll learn that later. But now that I cut it, I can hit UV, highlight all these, and then I can go to the tool called Smooth UV Tool, where this will come up. And if you just click and drag side to side, you can unfold, and you see how that's like actually unfolding it all crazy. I actually did a pretty good job. Depending on the amount of geometry, you might have to unfold and relax. But now you see it's like my arm just unfolded. Just to be quick, I'm not going to really fuck with these UVs at all. But you would really want, like, you would want your UVs to be spaced out nice and properly. Otherwise you'll get stretching in the texture. Like I'll show you. Like say I did that. Like if it makes I don't know if it makes any sense to you yet, but if you can see what I'm talking about, like all these, if I put a texture on these UVs right here, all this would be nice and evenly spaced out, and the texture wouldn't stretch from like seam to seam. But once it gets to this point, the texture would be like forced to stretch across this whole retardedly stretched UV layout like that.